Will it dip any further? Do you think it dips to 80K? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I do. I know that for sure. I know for sure Bitcoin is a better store of value than fiat, real estate, gold, silver, stock market, trading cards, bonds, every dollar, US, euro, everything. It's a better store of value. So the only reason why Bitcoin really fluctuates is because people don't understand it. And that's what's causing the volatility in Bitcoin, is that most people simply do not understand what this asset is. And yeah, there's big institutions, there's OG whales selling Bitcoin, which takes a little bit of pressure off the demand side of the buying. But for the most part, the reason why we're still at $101,000 is because 99.9% of the population on this planet does not understand what Bitcoin is. And that was the kind of point that I made on last week's Maple Bitcoin show. And I wanted to elaborate a little bit this. I was gonna do a future video on it, but to me right now, Bitcoin, anytime you can buy Bitcoin below $10 million per coin, you're getting a deal. Truly. And it might even be higher than that. And the reason why I say that is because if you compare gold and Bitcoin doesn't really have anything that you can compare it to because it's truly one of a kind. It's a once in a species discovery. But if you compare Bitcoin to gold, which is the closest comparison that you can make, Bitcoin is 5, 10, 15, 20, 1,000 times better than gold. It just is. The characteristics of what make gold what it is are 100 times better with Bitcoin. In a digital world, gold's very analog. And that's, I want to share something right after I talk about this in relation to gold. But if you compare Bitcoin 1-to-1, even if you said, okay, Bitcoin is the new digital gold, they should be kind of valued 1-to-1. Some people like using it for jewelry. Some people prefer physical, but maybe they are 1-to-1. That would put Bitcoin, I think, over $1 million today, just 1-to-1 with gold. And I think that it's 10, 100 more times superior to gold. And that's not really my opinion. If you look at what makes gold what it is and you compare that to Bitcoin, Bitcoin wins all of those. So it's a superior asset to gold. It's way undervalued right now compared to gold, even 1-to-1, but it is far superior to gold. And the reason why it's not $10 million, and that's what most people will say, well, Jor, the current price of Bitcoin is $100,000 because that's all people value it as. That's the current price. That's what people are willing to pay for it today, which is true. But the reason why that is what it is because people don't understand what Bitcoin is. And the point that I made is if you asked 1,000 people on the street, 1,000 random people in New York City or Vegas or LA or wherever, 1,000 people, there might be 5 people in that crowd that would be able to tell you what Bitcoin is. Like, really. They might say it's a digital currency. They might say this, but if they actually gave you a good answer, they understood different things like the SHA-256, like the difficulty adjustment, like the halving schedule, like all these different things. I would say that there's probably 5 people out of 1,000 that would be able to answer that. On the flip side of that, probably 1,000 out of 1,000 would be able to tell you what gold is, because gold's been around for tens of thousands of years. So everybody knows what gold is. So there's no misunderstanding there. Everybody already knows what that is. If they own it, it's because they want gold. If they don't own it, it's because they don't want gold or they don't have the money for gold. But with Bitcoin, it's totally different. Just because somebody doesn't have Bitcoin doesn't mean that they don't want Bitcoin. It just means that they don't know what Bitcoin is. And you see all those different street interviews. Everybody asks, what's Bitcoin, or what do you think about Bitcoin? Do you want a chocolate bar or one Bitcoin? Do you want Taylor Swift tickets or do you want one Bitcoin? And most people just straight up say, I don't want any Bitcoin because I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. And so there's the mismatch in the price. It has nothing to do with the value of it. To me, Bitcoin's value is well over $10 million in fiat. But the price is where the misunderstanding comes in there. Nobody understands what this thing is. So there's way less people. The demand for it's way low because nobody understands what it is. If everybody understood, let's take it a step further here and say, if you ask those 1,000 people, same 1,000 people, and more than 500 of them could tell you what Bitcoin is, could give you a really good explanation of what Bitcoin is, then I would say, okay, even at 50%, I would say, you know what, this asset's pretty fairly valued. But the reality is that there'd be like less than 5 people who could answer that question right now out of 1,000. So price and value are much different things. And I wish people understood that. It took me a very long time to understand that. And I minored in economics in university. And it still took me a very long time to figure that out. Okay. So I want to share this too, because this is another part of gold. I think somewhere. I got some music playing in the background. Can you guys hear that or not? I don't know. Hopefully not. But it's so quiet here right now because we're in the fall and like the furnace isn't running. And so it's just really quiet in here. So I turned on some music. Hopefully you can't hear it in the background. Okay, gold is for doomers. This is the second part of this too. So I really like this post on Nostr, and this is something I've been talking quite a bit about on the channel for the last little while. This is how I see it too. It said, gold is an insurance against crisis. Gold bugs are basically preppers who will be vindicated by disaster when their insurance pays off. It's like saying, I told you, you need this underground bunker. See, there's war above the ground now. When there's no war, the bunker is less useful, although it makes great family parties. I like and own gold in a small proportion because the crisis will come. But I own Bitcoin because it does not need to wait for a crisis. That's the key. You can use it today for many things, and that's what we started the show with today. Building a new future is much more pleasant than calling for a disaster. Building new things that were not possible before is what makes Bitcoin beautiful, is what makes Bitcoin beautiful. I can wait like an old grumpy guy for a disaster, and even though it will probably come during our lifetime, I want to live now. This is, by the way, the reason I like crypto anarchy as well. Other political philosophies and strategies are waiting for the world to change, usually turn to shit, but sometimes it waits for enlightenment or humanity after said shit passes, and they will build on top of the ashes of the fallen civilization. Crypto anarchy is for today. You can live it now. You don't need to wait for anyone or any crisis. Crypto anarchy is for the young mind to empower those that choose this way today. So I very much subscribe to that theory. I think that, when we compare Bitcoin and gold, I kind of talked about the characteristics there. I said, if you compare them, side to side, which is what we're going to do in a future lesson here. But Bitcoin wins. Bitcoin is a superior asset in the digital age. And there's a really big difference too. This is what a lot of people miss. There's a very big difference between an asset like gold, which is scarce, 2% inflation every year. They find more gold, dig it out of the ground, sell it. There's a difference between scarcity and absolute scarcity. And we've never had an asset with absolute scarcity before. That's what Bitcoin is. And so to me, yes, you can hold some gold, some silver. You can wait for doomsday to come. You can wait for a zombie to show up at your doorstep and offer you some food for your gold, something like that, whatever scenario these guys have in their head. But for me personally, the reason why I choose Bitcoin over gold is because I'm betting on a functioning society. Even if the lights went out, the power went down, it wouldn't last very long, because if it lasted for a long time, half the population would disappear. A lot of people are hooked up to a machine at this moment. And so if all that went down, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Nobody would care about cash, gold, Bitcoin, anything like that. So I'm betting on a functioning society, and I'm betting on, I want an asset that I can use in good times, in bad times, whenever I want to, with whomever I want to, without anybody's permission. That's why I like Bitcoin. And gold's got a lot of great qualities, but you can't send gold through a QR code. You can't settle billions of dollars worth of gold in a day or 10 minutes. You can't send hundreds of billions of dollars of gold in 10 minutes for $1. You can't hop on an airplane with $2 million worth of gold in your pocket, but you can hop on an airplane with $2 billion worth of Bitcoin in your head or in your book. That's what makes this asset so special. And that's why it's so different. And that's why it's so misunderstood by most people. So once we get to that level of understanding, once 500 out of 1,000 people understand what Bitcoin is, that's when we'll actually have a more accurate idea of what this thing's really worth. We're nowhere near that right now. So the price could be $100,000. It could be $300,000. But until we get to that 500 level of understanding, it's irrelevant. This is the time to accumulate. They're going to look back in 100 years from now, and they'll give literally anything to be where we are right now. Anything. And think about 100 years before this. Could you imagine going through 100 years of your life in a broken fiat system and you never get to see anything else? You are living on the best possible timeline that has ever existed in human history before. And so when you're feeling sorry for yourself, or you're feeling bad because your net worth went down a little bit, or you're thinking about going into gold instead of Bitcoin, just subscribe to, hope. Understand how special this time is. Understand how lucky and how fortunate you are to be here at this time right now, because we're never going to get this opportunity again. Nobody in history will. So just take advantage of it. Take advantage of days like today. It's a good call. Don Troll, during a dip, look at your sats balance. It didn't move. HODL. And that's the other thing. Wow. Look at that. In the last 10 minutes here, there's been 9 blocks. I got to see a different version of that. Oh no. Never mind. I thought it was 922. Sorry. My bad. But look at this. This is the blockchain's a little bit behind right now. This block 922228 was over an hour ago. 922229, the palindrome block, was 45 minutes ago. And then this last one was 15 minutes ago. So that's 3 blocks in 65 minutes. But it's another one of those things, you just zoom out a little bit. Pretty special, my friends.